Hello,
Are
can
we
you hear me?
live? Yeah, welcome, Dr. Jima.
Hi.
Are we, Dr. Sahab, are we live on Facebook or YouTube?
Wait a minute. I'll get you live on the YouTube, right? You wait a minute, please.
Okay.
Sir, we are already live on YouTube.
Ashish, we are live.
Ah, yes, sir. Now
Okay.
only I just.
Okay, then Dr. Fayaz will start it. Okay, please, Dr. Fayaz.
Hi, my name is Gemma Green. I'm a co-founder and the chairman of Power Ledger. We're an Australian technology company that uses the blockchain to facilitate the trading of electricity and environmental commodities. We're 4 years old and we have about 20 projects in 10 countries around the world. And I was going, sorry?
Excuse me, 1 minute. We would like to start with Dr. Fayaz, please.
Sure.
So you'll be invited. Okay, Dr. Fayaz, please carry on.
Hello, a very good morning to all of you. I, Dr. Fayaz Ahmed, on behalf of Academy of EcoScience and entire organizing team, and on my own behalf, welcome our distinguished speaker, Dr. Gemma Green, Executive Chairman and co-founder of Power Ledger Australia, for gracing this event and enlighten us about energy conservation and environment. I would like to welcome all the participants, academicians, research scholars, and students from various institutions, university, colleges from national as well as international level who are watching this webinar live on YouTube. Without further delay, I would like to invite Dr. Sana Shafi, Joint Secretary, Academy of EcoScience, for opening remarks of the webinar. Dr. Sana Shafi.
Good morning. I, Dr. Sana Shafi, Joint Secretary, Academy of EcoScience, on behalf of Academy of EcoScience and on behalf of myself, welcome you all to the international webinar on energy conservation and environment. Today, we live in an era of surplus in which consumer products flood the shelves while the natural world around us is being depleted. For this, we need to adopt a sustainable approach for development so as to preserve the planet as a life-supporting habitat for future generations. Sustainability is a philosophy of life and a way of life that strives to enable everyone access to environmental, social, and economic resources, yet defends the rights of future generations as well. Every society has its special concept of sustainability linked to its traditions and environment. Therefore, every group may enrich the ideas and activities of others. Energy conservation is the first step to a sustainable future. Energy conservation refers to the methods of reduction in energy consumption by way of elimination of wastage and promotion of efficiency. We know that due to the vast gap between demand and supply, a lot of efforts is being done to bridge the gap, which requires a lot of capital investment, and apart from it creates a lot of environmental key element of energy management. Conservation ventures include decreasing energy use. We can reduce the energy consumption by adopting various ways of energy conservation, which includes efficient use of technologies and avoiding energy wastage. This is despite the fact that energy saving initiatives can reduce revenue expenditure over the whole organization with very low capital investment requirements and can continue to do so over a very long period. Among the reasons given for this has been shortage of capital to invest and short-term company policies, and it has been difficult for energy managers to gain the necessary support for energy-saving projects. The multifaceted effects, global warming, and climate change have caught the attention of all nations and have prompted international meetings to discuss conventions and set timelines to reduce carbon emissions. Starting as early as 1980, many countries have been establishing government departments, organizations, policies, and plans on energy conservation to promote energy education and build literacy in energy conservation. Comprehensive planning makes the transformation to a society that conserves energy. Policies have been set for each agency according to their role. Energy conservation appears to be one of the most effective methods to increase and use energy efficiency and to decrease energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions in various sectors. Therefore, many countries have recently started improving and enterprising energy conservation programs to decrease the energy intensity of the country's infrastructure. Energy conservation is now a very important social topic. There is an expanding body of knowledge in the literature focused on promoting consumers in decreasing their personal carbon footprint in their domestic context. However, most of the research in the workplace focuses on optimizing formalized production processes and investing in energy efficient equipment. In sustainable development, energy resources create little or no waste to be emitted into the environment, and they cause only waste emissions having no or minimal negative impact on the environment. However, all resource use leads to some degree of environmental problem, and limitations imposed on sustainable development by environmental emissions can be in part overcome through increased efficiency. A large number of potential solutions to environmental problems related to the harmful pollutant emissions have been worked out. A significant one among them is energy conservation. Energy conservation activities have been improved because of its indirect contribution to the prevention of environmental pollution. Climate change can have a large impact on human society. Many nations have set deadlines for making greenhouse gas reductions, which require appropriate response actions. Energy conservation is commonly listed as the main method of response. Governments should improve and apply energy conservation policies to decrease the impacts of environmental problems. The creation of any energy conservation policy could lead to a reduction in economic growth and eventually to a fall in income and employment. Energy conservation and reduction of carbon dioxide emission have become vital environmental topics for climate change. A wide variety of greenhouse gas emissions reduction policies and energy conservation measures are available. Carbon dioxide emission produced from burning fossil fuels has been a great part of greenhouse gases. The trend of carbon dioxide emission from automobiles is rising and required to improve developed automobile with high fuel efficiency and carbon emission. The United States Environmental Protection Agency submitted that the most effective way to decrease carbon dioxide emission is the reduction of fuel consumption, such as by traveling in a more fuel efficient vehicle using more renewable energy. The basic source of carbon dioxide emissions are fossil fuel consumption and power consumption for transportation and electricity. Energy conservation can effectively reduce carbon dioxide emission. There's the potential to reduce these emissions by using sustainable energy as an alternative to burning the fossil fuels. Thank you for your attention. With these words, I would like to invite Dr. Suhaib Ahmed Band, President Academic Sciences, to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Sana. Thank you, Dr. Fayaz. I would like to thank Dr. Gemma Green, who is the speaker for the session. Dr. Gemma Green is the executive chairman and co-founder of Power Ledger. After completing a degree in finance, Gemma started her career in banking at JP Morgan in London. While there, she saw firsthand the dilemmas and problems that came with bringing corporate social responsibility to the business world. After a decade in the UK, Green returned home to Perth to pursue a doctorate at Curtin University in electricity market disruption, which she completed in 2017. This work turned out to be the perfect segue to start up her own business, a blockchain-powered peer-to-peer energy and carbon credit platform called Power Ledger. The company is 3 years old and has projects in US, Japan, Europe, Thailand, and Australia. Somehow she found time to become Deputy Lord Mayor of the city of Perth and a mother of 3 children. Gemma helped set up Australia's first fossil fuel-free superannuation fund and has served on numerous boards championing sustainable business. She gives regular talks on technology and leadership in business and recently received the EY FinTech Entrepreneur of the Year award. Dr. Gemma Green lives in Perth and invents Italian-style dishes for relaxation. With these words, I would like to request Dr. Gemma Green to continue with her talk. Please welcome Dr. Gemma Green.
Thank you for the introduction and also the opportunity to speak today at the Academy of EcoScience. I would like to start by just sharing a few slides and introducing you to the electricity system. It has remained relatively unchanged for pretty much a century, and it's been characterised by what you would call centralised power stations, bringing electricity to people's homes and businesses. And you can see here, this is pretty much what a traditional energy system looks like, and has not really changed much for the better part of a century. But in the past 15 years or so, a new paradigm has begun to emerge as a result of distributed renewables, so rooftop solar and wind, and about $300 billion worth of investment is happening every single year in new energies, which sounds very exciting and obviously is. But the way that the price signals have been developed around this, largely driven by feed-in tariffs, has actually put a lot of energy on the grid at times of the day when it's not needed. And what that's created is a phenomena called the duck curve. And it's basically describing how you have a lot of solar when there's not demand, and not a lot of solar when there is demand. So there's a mismatch. And this is causing what's called reverse flows on the grid, issues with voltage and reactive power, and it's essentially breaking the grid. We can't continue with this model, and pretty much by 2020 around the world, most of the feed-in tariffs are being retired. And so the next question is, how can renewables be integrated into the system without causing these issues? And we developed PowerLedger's platform as the missing jigsaw link, which is a market-making technology that puts price signals in the market to drive generation and consumption where and when it's needed. So our technology can be used by electricity retailers to invent new business models so that they can capture value in that market, in the markets in which they operate. So we've got a number of platform features. In the energy trading portfolio, we have XGrid, which is peer-to-peer trading across the grid, UGrid, which is peer-to-peer trading within microgrids, BPP, which is peer-to-peer trading with batteries, Vision and PPA Vision, which is tracking the output of generation assets like solar farms and wind farms, and environmental commodities trading. So we have Trace, which is actually a tracking for the output of renewable energy for the issuance of carbon credits and renewable energy certificates. And finally, TraceX, which is a marketplace for trading renewable energy certificates. And we use the blockchain to facilitate all of these different aspects of our platform. This is a screen capture of peer-to-peer trading. This is the Renew Nexus project we did in Perth, which I'll say more about shortly. But basically, this is around localized energy markets, rather than having a grid-wide price for electricity, to look at how do you create local price signals based on supply and demand dynamics. And this trial showed that price signals changed consumer behaviour and can be used as an instrument to drive more efficient consumption of renewables and drive installation of renewables where and when they are needed. And the reason why this is happening in the past 15 years is because the price of solar and battery storage combined is starting to compete with traditional sources of electricity. And as we exit the feed-in tariff era, market mechanisms will be the other way that renewables will be procured. And you can see that also with regard to power purchase agreements, trending from tenders to also more reverse auctions, and moving from feed-in tariffs to market pricing for rooftop solar. So aggregators and peer-to-peer trading and virtual power plant services. And so this is an energy transition that's happening, and it is manifesting in different ways in different markets, but there's certainly common threads. So you see where in the markets where there's a high penetration of renewables, like in Germany, in California, in Japan and Australia, where the feed-in tariffs have been extraordinarily successful, the duck curve now is a very big problem, and new market signals are needed to suck up that surplus solar during the day. In the future, this is a kind of illustration of what the distributed energy system of tomorrow could look like, but effectively localized generation and consumption could provide a great deal of the need, and differential power can come from a variety of sources through transmission lines and distribution lines, bringing electricity to people's homes and businesses. So the question is, how do you actually make this all happen? So I'm just going to show you some projects where we're working on this problem. But essentially, the market mechanism helps people with rooftop solar or businesses with rooftop solar save money, make money, and also to build sustainable communities. And our platform is a marketplace where users can buy and sell homegrown solar energy and battery sourced electricity to do that. So this project in the US is with Clearway. Clearway are a NASDAQ listed company. They have about 6 gigawatts of renewables in their portfolio. And we are jointly developing a renewable energy certificate trading platform with them. RECs are a big business in the US. About $3 billion worth of RECs are traded each year. And we're looking at how the blockchain and the marketplace on our platform can be used to drive efficiencies around the trading and settlement of RECs, which historically can be a very manual process and involve quite a lot to reconcile trades and payments and erode the value of the RECs. In that vein, we've also partnered with the Midwest Renewable Energy Tracking Scheme in the US that covers the North American renewable energy certificates, many voluntary RECs. We're plugging into that to allow companies that want to buy renewable energy certificates to do so matched against their load profile, which is quite exciting because historically certificate buying has been, I've bought certificates matched sometime in that year, but this now allows for granularity, and we're seeing companies like Google, for example, have set the standard for trying to match their energy needs against their renewable energy purchasing. And we see that our platform enables companies that don't necessarily have the data analytics capabilities of Google to be able to do the same thing. In Thailand, we have a project with BCPG, which is called T77. It's in Bangkok. It's the largest commercial peer-to-peer trading project in the world. It's currently across 6 sites trading peer-to-peer, but I think 8 more will be installed by the end of this year, and a further 3 forecast for 2021. So it's very exciting. In Chiang Mai in the north of Thailand, at Chiang Mai University, we're also working on a 12 megawatt solar project across the Chiang Mai University campus, and that will go live and be a smart cities demonstration project. We've also partnered with BCPG and the Thai Digital Energy Development Corporation, which is the Thai government and BCPG, to offer digital energy services in Thailand and Indochina. And in Japan, we've partnered with KEPCO, which is the largest privately owned utility in Japan. We supported the creation of a virtual power plant in Osaka and a renewable energy certificate trading trial there. And in France, we have partnered with the 5th largest retailer there, Equateur. They have about 200,000 customers, to allow their customers to choose their own energy mix. So we're just currently doing the integration on that right now. But customers will not just have a renewable tariff, but can specify, I want 20% of solar from this farm or 15% wind from that farm. And our platform will enable the acquittal of output of these generation assets against consumption profile within the same interval. So they're not just buying certificates, they're actually buying energy from a specified source, which is, I think, new trend where customers are able to put price signals in the market to support the creation of new assets where and when they're needed. In the US, we have a peer-to-peer trading project with American PowerNet, and this is trading across the wholesale electricity market, and is at American PowerNet's head office, trading with neighbouring businesses. And the neighbours pay around 5% less for excess solar. So it's local energy, it's renewable energy, and it's cheaper than usual. In Australia, in Perth, where Power Ledger is based, we have a number of apartment buildings with solar and batteries. And what this project and our platform enables is that each apartment gets an allocation of the output of the solar and battery systems. And if they don't consume that allocation, they can trade it with their neighbours. So they're incentivized to use electricity more efficiently, and their peer-to-peer trading can offset their electricity bill. We've also got a project with Vicinity, which is an Australian stock exchange listed entity that owns a number of shopping centres, to trial the use of our platform across a number of sites to facilitate virtual power plants and peer-to-peer trading of electricity. And in remote Western Australia, we have a project that demonstrated how regional towns can use peer-to-peer trading to facilitate localised energy markets and drive more efficiencies and stabilisation of the grid. In Malaysia, we've worked with the Malaysian Sustainable Energy Development Authority, SEDA, to do a demonstration project for peer-to-peer, and that's rolling into, this was a desktop trial, but it's rolling into an actual peer-to-peer project in Kuala Lumpur, which will commence next year. In India, we're also working with the India Smart Grid Forum and the state of Uttar Pradesh, which is the largest and most populous state in India. I think there's about 90 million people living there. We're working with the government to develop peer-to-peer trading in the country, which is very exciting. And then on environmental commodity trading, I mentioned before that there's about $3 billion worth of RECs issued in the US each year. Globally, it's about 100 billion per annum across carbon credits and renewable energy certificates. And this graph just shows the value of those through time, broken down by different types of certificates. And to that vein, we've had a demonstration project in California with Silicon Valley Power, which for those that have electric vehicles that charge them with solar, they're eligible actually for a credit called the Low Carbon Fuel Standard. We did this demonstration project to show how the RECs can, the measurement, reporting and verification process needed to get the RECs issued can be automated on the blockchain, which I think is very interesting, because what that means is that the value of the RECs, or the credits rather, can be offset against the cost of charging your vehicle. So kind of is a cash machine on wheels, which is quite a neat idea. And then I mentioned Clearway Energy, who we have a partnership with as well. The Renew Nexus project, which I showed you the screen captures on earlier, there are 3 parts to that. The first was Frio 48, which is peer-to-peer trading across the grid. Loco 1, which is a virtual power plant model, a simulation that we did, and Loco 3, which is actual peer-to-peer trading and virtual power plant trading. We've got a report available on our website, which was jointly published with Curtin and Murdoch University. The insights from this showed that energy trading was popular with participants, and the price signal altered energy consumption habits. So in summary, using Power Ledger's peer-to-peer and BPP software, renewables can be scaled and deal with issues like the duck curve without the need for government subsidy, which is really important, because the more subsidised things are, the more everyone pays, whereas this can use price signals to drive the adoption of renewables in a way that actually works for the energy grid. And this is a summary of the different clients and projects that we've got. Mentioned at the beginning, we have more than 20 projects in 10 countries. We use the blockchain. I'll just give you a little bit of an insight into how that works. So the blockchain is used for record keeping as a ledger to record the output of generation assets and the consumption. But it's also, we can use the smart contracting functionality to perform certain functions. So for example, a battery could have many different actions that it could perform in a market, and the smart contract could be designed to be self-executing to choose the most optimal income outcome, or to provide the most stability for the grid. And it could be used for co-optimization of multiple different scenarios. In terms of what's needed to do this, smart meters are needed and communications, and through the cloud that can be aggregated to the Power Ledger platform to create the marketplace. So in summary, using our platform, renewables are scalable. And on that note, I will take any questions.
We have one question, one from participant, and he's asking, though there are so many options for alternative energy like solar energy, then why conventional energy systems are much dominant till today? And can you explain some complications associated with this?
Sure. Well, I think what you're asking, why are energy systems changing? Well, I think there's a variety of drivers for that. One is concerns about climate change. Two is not all nation states have access to their own fossil fuels. So many of them are importing them, which is very expensive. And the ability to generate their own power from renewable sources means that they are not reliant on imported feedstock. And what that can mean is that it can be less costly longer term. So I think wanting to, in developing countries, there isn't always an existing electricity grid. And so new electrification projects are more likely to be driven by renewables, particularly with multilaterals like the World Bank and the IFC Corporation. They actually won't fund fossil fuel projects anymore. So with new electrification, you tend to find that it's from renewable sources. And in high-income OECD countries, concerns around climate or even just desire for cleaner air is leading to strong demand for renewables. So in Australia, about 30% of households have rooftop solar. And I think it's been very successful. The feed-in tariff programs around the world have driven much greater levels of adoption of renewables than was forecast. And that's led to this, the duck curve issue that I mentioned before. So the next sort of phase of growth in renewables is how to integrate them into the grid in a way that doesn't cause these sort of perverse outcomes.
Thank you. I have another question. Is concept of solar energy on grid and off grid concept. Can you slightly deliberate on that thing?
Sure. So you might have like completely grid disconnected microgrids that standalone power stations, but you could also have like solar systems that are behind the meter, but are grid connected. So it might be that you have like an apartment building or a shopping centre or an office that has its own solar system to supply its own needs, but it may spill amount of electricity onto the grid as well. And this is predominantly the kinds of systems that you see in Australia, where you have households with rooftop solar, and probably about half of the output of that is for self-consumption, and then half of that is being spilled onto the grid and purchased by other people.
Thank you, Dr. Gemma Green. A very informative session. So it's my privilege to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. I, Dr. Fayaz, on behalf of Academy of EcoScience and entire organizing team, and on my own behalf, extend very hearty vote of thanks to speaker for gracing this event with her opinions. She have deliberated on the renewable energy trading system, renewable energy certificates, then also the blockchain concept, and peer-to-peer trading, net energy metering, and also she discussed about about the one project in India Smart Grid Farm in Uttar Pradesh, and I personally feel that it was very informative. So I hope also the participants got enlightened with this kind of talk. So I also will thank all participants who are watching this webinar live on YouTube. So finally, I must mention our deep sense of gratitude to Dr. Gemma Green for explanation on the topic. Thank you, ma'am.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Thank you much.